Welcome to another tutorial for MACA 1320 Intro to Photoshop. This is Deanna Sheehan and this is your Photoshop caricature. So this part is part one and we're going to be talking about how to search and prepare your file. So I'm going to start by just kind of quickly going to Google and doing a search. And whatever caricature or celebrity you end up picking, okay, you want to pick a celebrity that has unique features. You don't want to pick someone too pretty to do because you're going to have a harder time doing it. So if we do a search for, let's say, Gary Busey, I'm going to click on images. And what we want to make sure when we're doing our research for this is that we choose a file that's big enough to use, because we're going to be working in a 10-inch by 10-inch at 200 ppi. So I'm going to make sure I go to search tools here, and then I'm going to go to size, and I'm going to choose large. And what we want to make sure when we're finding this image, that it's at least 1,000 pixels in one direction. So this one's obviously big enough. This one's great because he's got a really great expression. It's 950 by 1232. But we don't want to grab this image. We want to make sure that we're going to the page that it's actually at to get the full resolution of the image. For instance, this photo I think would be great, but I want to make sure that I'm clicking on this and getting the absolute biggest image that I can get. And you know, you can right click and choose save as, or you can click and just kind of drag it right off. So he would be a great one, but I wouldn't pick someone like Scarlett Johansson perhaps, because she's just too pretty. The features, there's nothing unique. Yes, she's got the bigger lips and that could work, but we want to pick someone who has really, really unique features. And I've gone through and picked some photos I thought would be great. For instance, the really big M shape here could be accentuated, as well as the long upper lip section here. Zach Braff, this one's great. I love this one because he has the very big nose, the eyes, and the bigger kind of fuller lips here that really could be accentuated. The longer forehead, the big kind of hair. Sir Ian McClellan here with the big kind of shape here with the hair could be really wished out and really popped out here with, again, this long kind of section here. The bigger ears could be accentuated, the bags under the eyes. Jack Nicholson, same kind of thing, big giant forehead, big jowly right here, and here the bigger chin kind of pull out his neck. Could be a really great one to work with. Arnold, we all know Arnold has the big bulky kind of face, could work. Love this one of Brad Pitt, just because this whole section here could be really pulled down and squared off right here. The hair also could be really full up here, and the squinty eyes could be really accentuated. Kevin Bacon is another good one because he's got the big long kind of face. That would be another great one. Just unique character in Clint Eastwood's face. There's the Gary Busey. I love this one because he's kind of puffy and you can kind of really accentuate the puffs in his face. Another Kevin Bacon. He has a great face. Matthew Perry here, giant forehead, big hair. This could really be accentuated. He kind of has no kind of neck connection, so this also could be pulled out quite a bit. Owen Wilson with the nose, another one that would be absolutely perfect because of the big giant nose, and the big shaggy hair could be accentuated, as well as the eyes under here, the squintiness. This eye could be bigger than this one. He's got the bigger cheekbones that kind of go in here. Same thing for all of those. Sarah Jessica Parker also has the big nose and the big smile. Bigger forehead here, and the hairdo could really be really extended on those. Danny Trejo with all the bumpiness could really be puffed up. Each section here could be really big. Big forehead. This whole mustache could really be kind of popped out this way. Would really work. Zooey Deschanel with the big eyes. Again, she may be a little bit too pretty, but I could see like making a tinier nose, tinier lips with big giant eyes on her. So what we want to start with is once you find the image that you're happy with, inside of Photoshop, we're going to start with a new document, and we're going to make sure our document is 10 by 10 at 200. Okay, I'm going to make my background transparent, and I think I'm going to go with Zach Braff. So I'm going to call this my Zach Braff demo 2014. I'm going to click OK. And we're going to start with that 10 by 10 document there. And then I'm going to open my Zach Braff caricature. Hitting space bar there so I can kind of toggle through. There we go. I'm going to open this one. And the first thing I'm going to do is make sure that this is large enough. So I'm going to go to image size. And I am going to change the resolution here to 200. And I'm going to leave the width and height as is so that I can have a little bit more manipulation if I wanted to scale up or scale down. And with that selected, and we are going to replace a new background here, I'm going to start by doing a save as. And in my caricatures folder here, I'm going to call this Zach Braff. And this is my start. I'm going to save this as a Photoshop document because I'm going to have lots of layers inside of here. So I'm going to choose Save. And I am working in Adobe Photoshop CC. And the first thing I kind of want to do is separate out the elements. And I'm going to go back to my folder here because I want to show you what we're going to kind of end up with here. Let's see. I lost my place. Let's go to the desktop. And I'm going to open one of the demos for a semester or two ago. And you can see that this is an image of house, obviously. And you're going to see down here all the layers that it takes to make up this. So it's going to be quite a few, but we started with something like this and we ended up like this. Okay. And each element is going to be separate. Okay. This one was a little bit more of a difficult image because of the hands that had to be cut out, the head, the mouth, everything is going to be kind of put separate so that we can manipulate them. Let me close that out. But the first thing I want to do, since I want to put him in a new background here, is I'm going to cut him out of his background. That way I have a much better selection so that I can separate images like the neck and the head if I wanted to make the neck smaller, which I probably will end up doing. So I do want to start by cutting him out, and we've already gone over the pen tool and the settings that we need to be on. The combined shapes for our pen tool, we're going to make sure that the pen is on path. Auto add and delete is checked, and rubber band is also checked under this little gear up here. It's just going to make it a little bit simpler for me. And I'm going to start by just kind of going through and using my pen tool to kind of get the main shape. And we did go over this in class, of course, because we do this all in class as well for the demo. And we talked about hair and how we're going to fix it. Remember, we want to just grab the main kind of shape. You don't want to worry too much about grabbing all the little kind of pieces because we are going to fix that up and make it a lot simpler and easier for us to kind of manipulate. If we tried to get all these little hairs, it wouldn't happen. And yes, we could use our different kind of selection tools to kind of help us out and use our masks once we get done with this path here to kind of edit the shape. But I'm just going to grab the main kind of shapes, and you can see with the rubber band turned on for this, it allows us to see where our path is going to go before we click. And remember, you can Command Option Z back, and I'm going to get him out of here first, and then we'll bring him into our 10 by 10 final document size. I just want to work with the biggest shape possible first before I commit to scaling it down, because we know that if you resample your images, you lose resolution. So again, I'm just kind of getting the main shapes here. I definitely want to grab some of these more puffier shapes. I'm doing this rather quickly so that we can get through the part one of this demo. I'm not worrying about all those little hairs there because I can fix that. So I'm just, again, grabbing the main shapes of the hair. I'm going to be a lot more precise when I grab and go down with my pen tool here on the face. And remember, we do want to name our path when we're done with it so that we're not losing our path in case we need to go back and grab this again. That way our work is kind of already done for us, because once you do this, you don't want to do it again. So I'm just going to get the main shape. Now that I'm at the face here, I'm obviously going to be a little more accurate. And don't forget your toggle keys, whether you're on a PC or a Mac, so that you can quickly go and toggle between your tools. On your pen tool, your convert anchor point tool, and your direct select tool. You can see down here I'm being a lot more precise. And you guys should be pretty familiar with the pen tool now because of doing the Nintendo assignment. We've used it, we've learned it, so this should be a little bit more difficult for you, but not impossible. And when I get down to the bottom here, I'm just going to kind of go past. And remember, I'm using my space bar toggle to get my hand tool to move within the image. And I am doing this relatively close up because I don't want, if you do it too far away, you're not going to get the edge. You're going to not be as exact as I'm being here now. And I'm holding down my direct select tool here to want to edit this point. And same thing here. And I'm going to zoom out so I can see my selection. I'm going to go to my paths palette and I'm going to name this main shape. Now that it's saved, I can add a couple more paths to this, okay? And I do want to separate the neck from the head, but since I already have this main shape path drawn here, on a separate layer here, I'm just going to grab what I need to kind of separate the neck from the head. And because the one path already exists, this is a lot simpler to kind of remove this head, because we don't have to worry about being precise on any of the points that we've already drawn. So we drew these already, and we drew all the hair. And because that already exists, I can kind of quickly go around the top of the head here. And I'll show you when we make a selection out of this. I'm going to call this my head remove. So when I turn this into a selection, and I can right click and choose make selection, put a small little feather on this and click OK. There's my selection for his head. But if I wanted to just get the head off, if I go to this path and choose make selection, I can choose intersect with selection with the same feather, and you can see now I have only the head. Okay, so it makes our life a little bit simpler, okay? And if I wanted to cut out just the bottom part, I can turn this into a selection, make selection, 1 pixel feather, and I can subtract the head. So I can choose make selection again and choose subtract from selection, and now you can see I have only the bottom part. Okay, so what I am going to do is on my main shape here, and again, if you forget to right click, you can also just turn this into a selection by holding down your command or control key on a PC. And with that, if we forget to do the feather, don't forget you can go to select, modify feather, which is also shift F6, and you can add the feather this way. So I'm only going to do something, and I could do something really small too, like 0.3. Might give me the better kind of a selection. And with that selected, we can actually go to layer, new via copy, or command J, and on a PC I believe it's control J, layer via copy here. So by hitting that, you can see I've kind of taken him out of the background, which is perfect, okay? And this is the one, when I separate this, okay, I'm going to keep this as my main, okay? And then under my paths here, I can start cutting out the head and then bringing it into my main document. So this is the main unaltered shape. And that one I'm going to keep as a backup. I'm not going to worry about, I'm not manipulating this one. If I manipulate this shape, And his head, I don't have much to go back on to pull back something if I need to for the originals. So again, I'm going to go to pass here. We're going to do what we did before here. I'm going to choose my head remove here. Make selection. I'm going to do a very small feather of 0.3. And again, see, this doesn't have to be perfect because he's already cut out. So again, I'm going to make a copy. I'm going to hit new layer via copy. And here's his head. And I'm going to use what's already existing here. So I'm going to click on my main shape here. And if you choose select pixels, it'll select everything that's not transparent with our transparency grid here in the background. And then by holding down Command and Option here, or Control and Option, you see the little minus sign that appears there? If I click that, I can subtract to just get the main body. And again, new layer via copy from this layer. So I'm going to hit Command J. And here is my body. And you can see now I have the body separated from the head. Okay, so that's going to work really well. And I'm going to grab all three of these and put them in a group. Okay, and if you go to your layers palette menu over here, you can choose new group from layers, or you can hit Command J. So this is the original cutouts. And again, naming these accordingly is going to really help you. And I'm going to bring these right into my main file now. So I'm going to undock this. And I'm going to grab this original cutouts group. And holding down Shift, I'm going to just drag it over. You can see I now have a much bigger area to work with. And now I can scale this down accordingly depending on what I need to fix. And by hitting Command T or Edit Transform, now I can scale this down so that I have a much better kind of area to work with here. So I'm going to save this. Excuse me. Here's my save. And this one I'm also going to save, but I'm going to close it out because I don't need it anymore. So I'm going to save this. And I'm going to close it. And I can always come back to that if I need it. Okay, so here are my original cutouts, my main shape, my body, and my head. And the rest of this we don't have to be as precise with because we want to start by preparing each element kind of separately. So I want to take a look first at what I want to manipulate, especially the features. Because if you take the features and you start squishing them up and changing them dramatically, especially the eyes, it no longer looks like the person that you are trying to do. It's going to look like some alien. Okay, so when we do this, and I'm going to just go to the main shape here because it's going to make things a little bit simpler. You can use any of your selection tools, whether it's the rectangular marquee tool, the lasso tool, to kind of grab the sections out that you want. And we definitely want to grab more than we need because we're going to mask these off. Okay, so if I'm going to grab his nose here, I'm going to go to my polygonal lasso tool, which remember is L, and to toggle through is Shift L. And I'm going to grab the nose. And you can see how I'm grabbing kind of more than I need, but I'm not worried about this being too precise. Okay, unless I want to make a crisp edge. Okay, and we'll talk about that when we get down to the bottom here. So here's my main shape. So what I want to do is start cutting these out of my shapes. And because the nose is on the head, I can do it here as well. So being on my head layer here, I'm going to choose new layer via copy. You can go up to layer new via copy. So I'm going to choose Command J on a Mac. I'm going to call this nose. And remember, I'm just preparing my files. I'm preparing this to start manipulating. I'm not going to do anything until I have everything ready to go. Okay, so I have my nose. So I'm going to go back to my head layer here. And I'm going to grab my eyes. And again, I'm just using the polygonal lasso tool so that I get the best kind of possible selection here without being precise with the pen tool because I don't really need to do that here. Again, I'm going to hit Command J, and this is his left eye. It's on our right, but it is his left eye. And I'm going to grab the right eye. And again, that was new layer via copy. Back to the head again. New layer via copy. This is his right eye. I think I want to grab the lips here, but I do want to be a little bit more precise with the lips because I want to cut out this edge more accurately. Because I want to separate the top and the bottom lip. And now I'm not going to worry about being as precise here. I'm going to go to my paths and I'm going to name this top lip. And I already have this part done for the bottom lip. So when I make that new path again, I'm not going to worry about where that line is because, again, we can kind of intersect where that happens. I'm going to command step back here because I think I want to grab a little bit more so I have a little bit more to kind of work with just to be safe. And I'm just going to go right through the middle lip here. And this is my bottom lip and double clicking to rename. I'm going to save as I go. I'm hitting that Command S to save real quick. And now when I turn the top lip into a selection here, make selection. And again, we can feather this or not. I'm probably not going to feather this one because I want that crisp kind of edge. So I'm going back to my head here. I'm hitting new layer via copy. And this is my top lip. And then to get my bottom lip, we're going to do that intersect. So I'm going to turn this into a selection. And I'm going to intersect my bottom lip. And if you hold down your Control Alt Shift or Command Option Shift on a Mac, I can do that intersect or subtract. This is going to be a subtract. So I'm going to turn my bottom lip into a selection. And I'm going to subtract the top lip. And then I have the bottom lip matching. So back to my head layer, new layer via copy. This is my bottom lip. And I don't think I need much more, possibly the neck I could do. And again, I have this line already drawn from the head shape here. If I turn this into a selection, you can see I have the head shape. So I really only need to draw this and this line. And I am, again, going to use, and I'm going to Command D to deselect there. This already exists, so I really only need to worry about the edges that don't already exist that we drew. And I'm just going to take this just in case I need it. I might not, but I might want to stretch this out to give him a long kind of gazelle-like neck here. And I believe it goes to here and then goes up. Based on what I'm seeing. So I know I kind of need that there for the neck. And again, I'm just going to go all the way across here because that shape already exists. So here's my neck. And remember, name all your paths and all your layers as you're going through here. Excuse me. So I'm going to use the head. I'm going to right click and choose select pixels. And then with the neck shape here, well, let's turn that into a selection first. So make selection or Control or Command click, and then we can subtract the head shape. So now we have just the neck there. And for this one, I'm going to go back to my body, and I'm going to hit Command J, and now you can see that the neck is separate. Okay, now I have all my pieces here kind of together, and the neck I'm going to keep under the head here. And so these are the main pieces I'm going to be working with, okay? So I'm going to take these shapes, and in case I need them again, I'm just going to make a copy of these. So what I'm going to do with these all selected is grab them and drag them to the Make New Layer button. And it's going to give me a copy of all of these, okay? You can see it comes up as copy. And I'm going to put these in a separate group. So with all of these selected, I'm going to go to New Group from Layers, and I'm going to call these my cutout shapes. And I'm going to drag this out of the original group that we made. So with once I turn this off, all my shapes are still there and it still looks fine. And at this point, we can kind of start manipulating. Okay, so once you have all your shapes cut out like this, I'm going to pause the video. This is part 1. And you guys can check on part 2 to see how to actually start manipulating.